This webinar wraps up our last series in Rapport for the month of September. Thank you for all those who participated and submitted great feedback. It was great hearing from you and having you guys join throughout the different webinars we had this month. Today's training is going to be a little different. So like I said earlier, feel free to turn on your cameras, log into audio. I just ask if someone is speaking, just to mute yourself. So as to eliminate any background noise. I'm a firm believer in peer-to-peer training. One person could be a subject matter expert, but everyone has different experiences and ideas that we can all learn and grow from. For today's training, I've invited 3 of our team members to join us. So if you will, please help me welcome them to our training here. All right. So welcome Kylan, Morgan, and Skylar. For those of you who are new additions to W3 family, let me take the time to give you a quick intro on each. So Kylan Morrow, Kylan started with W3 in October of 2018 at Tower Spring Creek. He now finds home at our Mercer product at Mansions Mercer Crossing. Morgan Driggers. Morgan started with W3 in May 2019 at Lux Creekside. Morgan is currently assisting many of our properties during the construction phase of her new community. And Skylar Clenny. Skylar started with W3 in July of 2020 at Mansions Lake Ridge. She's currently officing out of our current recently leased up community and product type at Mansions Oak Point. So thank you guys for joining us today. If you guys want to do a little virtual clap and welcome, that'd be great. Yay, look at y'all. Thank you, thank you for joining us. And I believe Morgan just got married, so Morgan, I do apologize. I do not have your last name added to here, so I was pulling names from Entrada. So
no, that's totally okay.
Okay. What is your new last name, Morgan, so I can make sure we can adjust that?
It is Abney, A-B-N-E-Y.
There we go. So welcome to newlywed Morgan Abney as well. Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so if you attended the first 2 series, we went over both aspects of rapport, the sales side and the customer service experience. If this is your first time joining, let me just reiterate the definition of rapport. So the definition of rapport is the feeling of commonality. People like people who are like themselves. So if you want to build rapport, you need to demonstrate community. So part 1, we covered NLP. So if you don't remember what NLP is, it's a neuro-linguistic programming. We talked about meeting people where they are, using some conscious techniques like mirroring, pace, tone, and vibe. Part 2, we talked about the resident experience and changing the way we think of our angry residents by exchanging that with anxious residents. We talked about breathing, being accessible, approachable, and welcoming. And today we'll be using more of an open panel discussion with our panelists, just to kind of go over experience tips from you guys on your end. Like I said, anybody can be a subject matter expert on a certain topic or subject, but you all bring so much more to the table when it comes to your experiences and things that you're learning along the way that you can share along with us. All right. So I sent our guest speakers 3 questions to share with their answers and experiences with us. I'm going to go over these questions with them, and then I will allow each panelist to give me their feedback on these questions, and then I'll open it up to you guys as well that are on the call. I'm curious to see what you have to say. Maybe you have some different experience or tips that would come in handy for us all to hear. So question number 1, we're going to go ahead and start with Kylan. So Kylan, the first question that we have for you is, tell me a time you felt you created a true rapport building experience.
All right. You know, Eric, it took me a while to figure out which moment that I wanted to use. I think that as agents, we do this on a day-to-day basis. But I think one that stuck out with me actually happened earlier this year with somebody who came in. I honestly thought that at first she was going to be a shock because she was just asking me these questions, you know? Like those very shoppy questions, you just kind of get that vibe like, ooh, what is your motive, right? But in actuality, she was just very particular and she knew exactly what she wanted. And so I showed her our 2-bedroom model And I kind of just stayed with her and I just listened to her. I feel as though because she was very particular, she wanted more of an informant. So I believe I made myself more of an informant in that situation, just letting her know what we had available then, getting her dimensions, all the more, I guess, salesy side of leasing. And honestly, she had another property that she was like looking at as well. But this prospect came to me in January. She didn't move in until last month. So I have been dealing with this same prospect for the past, 8 months? And each moment she came in, I was the same person. I greeted her, welcomed her, even if it was her sixth, seventh, eighth time coming in. I still treated her as it was like the very first time that I saw her. And I feel as though she respected that. I think that she liked that aspect of working with me. And now she's at all of our resident events. I'm always, chilling with her. She's telling me what she's done to her apartment. And, I really feel as though we're more so friends now, even though she's still, my resident, but like I can talk to her. I can, just vibe with her, joke with her. And, I'm really happy that I stuck it through for those 8 months with maybe the 10 times she toured.
Wow, that is a long time. No, that's great customer service and experience here. That she not only was able to continue to build that relationship with you over 1 month, 2 months, but 8 months, and you consistently continue to be patient and to offer her, that help and assistance, and let her know that, hey, whenever you're ready, I'm still here. Whenever you're ready, I'm still here.
I'm here for you, girl. I got you, girl. I got you.
What do they say? It's almost like the story of the tortoise and the hare. You were the tortoise in the sense to where you kind of, slowly, you didn't get the lease yet, but you ended up winning at the end. So that's
yes,
perfect.
I sure did.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go and pass this same question over to Morgan. So Morgan, tell me a time you felt you created a true rapport building experience.
I will have to go with something recently, I guess, because it's been a while since we've been on site. But I hadn't toured in a really long time, and at Mansions, there's a couple that came in, and they were really sweet. One was, I think, from Brazil, and the other one was somewhere like foreign, but they were really, really nice people. There's a little bit like of a language barrier, but not a lot. But we kind of just started talking. They told me they were having a baby and needed a 2-bedroom. And of course, I talk a lot. So we started just getting on different subjects of what they do and how they do things and where a nursery could be and dimensions and stuff like that. And so instead of more like the technical side, we got to do like the more of the fun side of this is how you could set up your apartment. This would be perfect for this and that. I told them more about kind of how they could save on electricity. Like I know a baby's expensive. We have energy saving services and stuff like that. And just kind of build rapport that way. I liked them. They said we were a little out of their budget, but we had really good conversation. So I kind of just followed up with them, and they showed up actually later that day, and they were like, well, we toured other like places. We really like this one, but we really like that you invested your time in connecting with us instead of just making it, very just like, oh, this is the apartment. Which some people it's really great. Like Kai said, like Kai's got an amazing personality. Some people don't really want to connect that way. They really just want it straightforward, but being able to tell if that's the type of client is a really good rapport experience, because it really does make the difference of, am I going to talk too much, or is this what they're needing? So they ended up leasing. They're like, we really liked you. We really liked the experience and the customer service. So we wanted to go ahead and lease, and they did. They got a 2-bedroom. So I think that was really cool. But I think a big thing with rapport is just trying to find how you relate to the customer, whether it is being the very talkative and bubbly person, or if you do need to kind of be more structured and like just the salesperson type.
I definitely agree, and that's very true. One thing about being in our industry is we have to be so adaptable to whoever we talk to. So whether it be like Kai, or whether it be like Morgan, that is uber friendly and can talk to anybody, or maybe you're more maybe like myself and more reserved, kind of very customer service based, and I'll give you what you need, but I'm going to dig into the relationship and dig into the questions more to kind of find out what you want and kind of give you that customer service experience. But no, that's great. I mean, that's what it's all about, is us making sure that we understand what's important to their needs. And in this case, it was, finding something that was in their budget, but space to grow with a baby, space to grow with what they needed. And you really did help them find that. So, you weren't just like any other leasing agent that they actually went to go visit that day. You showed them a side that was different and showed them that you cared. So that was a great part of, more likely, why they came back to come lease from you. So great job. Even not being on site for a while, hey, you don't lose it when you got it.
Thanks. It's like riding a bike.
All right. So same question for Skylar. For you guys that may not know Skylar, like I said, she actually was at the Property of the Year, Mansions Lake Ridge, and they leased up that community really fast. And Mansions Oak Point, they leased up that community pretty fast. So this is one of our lease up experts here. So Skylar, tell me a time you felt you created a true rapport building experience.
So the difference between the Lake Ridge residents and prospects that come in and the Oak Point residents and prospects that come in have been pretty vast. But recently I've leased to a lot of, recently graduated college students or students that are still in college, because we're right over here by UNT, TWU, Collin County community, all of that. So you have kids coming in and, they're my age, because I'm also still a student. So it's been really nice to be able to lease to somebody that's kind of in the same boat you're in right now, moving out on your own for the first time, and you're not in a dorm and you're moving into your own apartment, getting all those pieces of furniture that you never knew you needed, those dishes you never knew you needed. And then not only just answering all of their questions because they have so many, because a dorm comes with furniture and a dorm comes with a set of rules that is completely different than living in a community where it's your own apartment, all of that fun stuff. But not only answering their questions, but having their parents come in with them afterwards and then answering all the parents' questions. So my particular experience was actually with a student and her boyfriend, and they're actually at the same school I'm at. And then we ended up having the same class together somehow, some way. So it was really cool being able to get them moved into their first apartment ever together, and then have their parents come in with more of the mature questions, like how much rent is going to be, what exactly the lease says and the resident handbook says, and how to set up electricity for an apartment because the parents have been in a house, and what utilities they're going to pay, and getting the ESA documents set up and all of that fun stuff. So it was really great, not only being able to build that rapport with the prospects themselves, but being able to come in with their parents afterwards and just reassure their parents that where they're living is going to be the best place for them, for where they are at in life as well.
That's pretty awesome. And yeah, now that I think about it, you're right. Mansions Lake Ridge, you have more of a kind of a either family or, more single professionals, opposed to now you're at where you have majority of college students. So have you taken bottles of wine and brochures to your class one day to market there, since considering all of your your classmates could be potential residents?
Yeah, so I have actually talked to a few different people. So I take night classes right now because of how it works out with my schedule and everything. But everybody in my classes, work full time, or at least part time at almost a full time capacity. So they're all looking for places right now to move off of campus at UNT. So it's been kind of cool to tell them hey, well, there's this place over here. And I've told them about the Prosper location because of how close it is to the UNT Frisco campus and then the McKinney location. So there's been a few people that are, telling me that they worked with 2 or 3 apartment locators, and none of them have been able to give them the information that I was able to give them just sitting with them in class. So it was kind of cool to be able to, lease to the basically who I am. The questions that I would ask, I'm getting asked.
So what I'm hearing, a big part of that is your relatability, and that's a big part of rapport, being able to relate to them and being able to kind of be in their shoes. So kudos to you on where you're at there and being able to lease twice. What I mean twice is you have to lease to the prospect, the occupant, and you have to lease to their parents. So yeah, that's a big job. Okay, so question number 2. Let me move my slide here. All right, Kylan. So before I go any further, I want to make sure that I ask our group here, if you guys, maybe Sue, Destiny, Harris Woodland, our other people that are on the line, if you could give, if you guys have a tip or technique that worked best when creating rapport during your leasing process. Any brave souls want to go ahead and give it up?
I think just being genuine with the residents and prospects, it goes a long way because they can tell whenever you're just trying to sell to them or if you're not really feeling it. So whenever you're genuine and you kind of treat them like a friend, they'll really open up to you about a lot and it'll just go so much smoother from my experience.
No, definitely agree. One thing that you guys are not only selling is a beautiful community, and our product usually does speak for itself, but you're selling also yourself. You guys all have a different personality and a special magic to you that maybe you have not unlocked it yet, or maybe you have, and you know how to use it every time somebody walks in the door. Maybe it's a smile, maybe it's Kylan's overly fun, charismatic personality, or maybe it's someone's different swag, or or whatever you have, you have it. Utilize that, direct your sell, and use that to be more authentic, like Destiny said, because they're going to know when you're being your true self. Anybody else?
I will just go off of what was previously said. I feel even just a simple smile and always being kind really goes a long way. People will always remember how kind you are to them. And then just really finding something that you can relate to the person, whether it be something very small to something very large. That's how they're going to remember you and start to build that rapport with somebody.
That's perfect. Thank you, Katie. From a manager perspective, and you've been in this industry for quite a while at a lot of lease ups, so you definitely know some good tips there. So thank you so much. Very true. All right, Kylan. Question number 2 is. Oops, I'm going ahead of myself. There we go. What tip or technique works best when creating rapport during the leasing process?
Anytime somebody walks through that door, it doesn't matter if you've seen them 3 times. It doesn't matter if they're a resident. It doesn't matter if they are somebody that you've never seen before. Just greeting them with open arms and like an open heart, I feel as though that really makes a world of difference because that's the first impression. And I think that, first impressions are everything. If somebody gets a bad vibe from you right then and there, when you first meet them, then it feels as though they'll be like reluctant to ask you, will ask you probing questions and to answer questions from you. So I just try to, anytime somebody walks through that door, I just give them a great big, hey, how you doing? Come on, I got you, we're gonna do this together, and then within that, when I'm asking questions, I try to make real, not intense eye contact, but I just I just kind of peer into them. I just want them to feel as though I'm there with them in that present moment, and then also active listening. So with that eye contact and that active listening, people feel important. And I feel as though each and every prospect and resident should be able to feel that importance because we are working in their home. And what type of person would you want to be working in your home? And I think that's something that I try and ask myself before I walk in. I'm like, who am I going to be today? I want to make people feel comfortable in their home. So I feel as though those 3 things are very, very big for me. It's all about that first impression.
Perfect. So what I'm hearing, your tips are giving somebody your full attention, greeting them with a smile, making sure that first impression is met with being welcoming, and practicing that total active listening, and giving them their full attention and making sure that they know that that they're the priority at the moment. Great job. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. How about Ms. Morgan, what tip or technique works best when creating a report during the leasing process?
I would say like my best tip would say like just don't ever lie to them, because over promising and under delivering will never create a good experience. One, it's just like a good tip for life, but also just in leasing, because if you over promise and it's something that can't get done, you automatically have bad rapport with that resident and or prospect. My thing is just like everybody was saying before, always be genuine with what you're saying. If there is something that goes wrong, if there was an apartment that was leased, like don't make up kind of phony excuses or different reasons. Just kind of tell them like, this is what happened. Like, I apologize, we dropped the ball, but we're going to do anything that we can to make it up to you. I won't lie to you. I'll make sure that we have everything, in the future. Hopefully we can, kind of make it up to you to the best of our abilities. Will we ever lie to you? No. And I'm just kind of showing you now a lot of apartments will, and it kind of stinks, but that is something that you see in the industry a lot. But I think that's kind of one thing that can separate us from other apartments, is you do have a lot of apartment complexes that lie and cheat and try to overcharge and do things like that. But with us, as long as you are just being genuine and being honest and really just trying to have that good relationship with the prospect, I think you can kind of overcome anything.
Perfect. No, that's very true. Being authentic and honesty is your best policy, whether it comes with, leasing during the report process, and just kind of throw it into the resident side as well, being honest with them as well. Can you just repeat that line you said one more time about over-promising?
I was just basically saying, like, you don't ever want to overpromise and underdeliver, because, like I said, it's never a good experience, whether they're a prospect that is a potential resident or a prospect that's already signed or has not. So if you have somebody who's on the fence about leasing and you've overpromised and underdelivered, like, one, either they're going to sign their lease because they have no other option and you already have a bad experience with that person, or they're not going to sign because they don't trust you.
Perfect. So I love that. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. All right. How about you, Skylar? What tip or technique works best for you when creating rapport during the leasing process?
So, my microphone is like loading. Yeah, my microphone is loading. It's going super slow. Are you able to get on there and tell them that? Oh, okay. Sorry. My Chrome was going super slow and my microphone wouldn't turn on.
Oh, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I think the best course of action when you're trying to create rapport during the leasing process is treating the prospect as you would if they were a resident. So starting that resident process right when they walk in the door, like, hey, would you like a bottle of water? Or we have, our really cool coffee machine over here. Like, have them utilize what you have in the clubhouse now, especially if they're waiting on another tour to finish up, because you want to go ahead and you want to create that resident experience for them now. Now that we have much more residents here at MOK, we are doing our resident events. So when we have a resident event on Saturday and we have people coming in and tour and they're able to see like all of our residents having a good time at a brunch, or if they come afterwards and they're still, we still have some residents lingering around, we love for the residents to talk to the prospects coming in too, to create that sense of community, because especially with the new product kind of shaped with, it's definitely more of a neighborhood vibe going on than just, multi-story buildings. And I think that definitely shows with the residents as well. So I always like to create the resident experience when the prospect first steps in the door, whether it's just getting them a cup of coffee or a bottle of water, or making sure to show them all of the amenities, because we have so many to offer. And we want to make sure that they're being able to envision what their life will be here as a resident before even making the decision to actually lease here.
That's perfect. So you treat them like a resident before they are a resident. One thing that I can kind of add to that is by you doing that, you're actually kind of subconsciously putting in their mind that this is their place already. Usually, like when we're touring people, we list things. Oh, this is where you can put your couch at, or this is where you can have events at whenever you come down on the weekends. We have lunch ready for you. Putting those subliminal messages already in their mind when it comes to being a resident there, such a great idea. And obviously, you guys have great confidence in your residents, so they're going to speak highly of you. So perfect on that too. All right, before I go further, anybody else? Anybody have any maybe tips or technique that has worked best for you during the leasing process that you'd like to share? All right, we'll go on to the next question. There we go. All right, this one's going to be more on the resident experience side. So this is our last question before we end today. So Kylan, what rapport tip can you offer to help better create a better resident experience?
I think I said this in the previous one, but we are working in these people's homes, and that's kind of like the standpoint of what I have about what I'm about to say. So I think everybody knows the golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated, but I think I would like to take that a step further with the platinum rule, which is treat people how they want to be treated. I think in this field that we've chosen, like you said, we all have like a little piece of magic in us. And you can really let that magic shine when you do have your residents. Like you're going to have those few residents that are only going to come to you. They don't want to talk to nobody else. And that's a very respectful thing because they see your magic in that moment. So I think that when it comes to the resident experience, just treat them how they want to be treated, which I think with like a little bit of intuition and, a little bit of empathy, like putting yourself in their shoes, whether it be, they have like a loud neighbor, or if they are having certain feelings about wanting to start like a resident event club, like they want to have a game night, really give them what you feel as though they would want, which I think entire engagement and, to feel important.
Okay, so I learned something today from Kylan. So the golden rule is treat everybody like the way you'd want to be treated. And Kylan said, no, we don't do gold. We're going to do platinum. And we're going to treat them like they want to be treated.
Period.
All right, Kylan. Well, I like that. I appreciate that. Okay. How about you, Morgan? What rapport tip can you offer to help create a better resident experience?
I would just say consistency is key. Depending on if you're following up with a resident, consistency and follow up. I feel like a lot of residents have issues with front offices if you kind of drop the ball and don't follow up with them, whether it be calling them back about a storage that's available, whether it's calling them back about a resident issue that they had, or even what time a resident event was. Just following up and keeping that consistency, letting them know that they're heard and we're not just ignoring them and we're not just not doing anything in the office, because I feel like that is a thing that a lot of residents think. But if you continue that relationship with the follow-up and the consistency, I feel like they really will appreciate you for it, even if they're upset. If they're upset and you have no answer yet for them, just reaching out and being like, look, we don't have an answer right now, but I just want to let you know we haven't forgot about you. I feel like that creates a really good rapport, even if you're not giving them the answer, just letting them know that you're still thinking about them and you're still working on an issue.
No, that's great. I think that's really important, especially, when you're on a busy property and the amount of resident contact needed, line items that are coming in and out, to make sure that we're answering them in a timely manner and that they don't just get ignored or get pushed under the rug that someone's going to answer them. It's always good to make sure we're following up. For those of you that maybe not know, we went over last week on the Entrada tips and trick. There is a report that you can pull for resident contacts that you can do follow-ups on. So if you wanted to go back and see if they've already been responded to, you can always pull that report to kind of be consistent. Great job, Morgan. How about you, Skylar? What rapport tip can you offer to help better create a resident experience?
So after they have actually leased with us and moved in, now your goal is basically to be their on-hand problem solver, because they're not going to know what to do. And even when maintenance doesn't know what to do exactly, you're basically the go-between between, especially if you still have construction on site and all that fun stuff, You are basically their right-hand man when they have any questions, and you want to be able to answer those questions either as quick as possible or give them the most detailed answer, especially because the way I think about it is they are paying money to live here and they chose us for a reason, and you're going to want to continue giving them a reason to keep choosing us, which goes into the renewal process later after you actually get everybody in here and for the lease up. So it's not the problem of, just maybe, it's not the big problems that you need to handle all the time, but it's the little things like, hey, the lawn maintenance team forgot to blow off my patio. We let them know. Of course we will let them know. Can we send maintenance out there later in the day since landscaping has already left? Absolutely perfect. You're wanting to solve those problems with them so that they continue choosing you. That's your goal, is for them to continue choosing your community like they did the first time.
That is awesome. That's a great answer. So yeah, I love that we want to make sure that we're continuing to, for them to choose us, and that our goal is to keep them, right? But you're right. We are problem solvers on site. Not only are we counselors, therapists, pacifiers, and salespeople, we're also problem solvers. We all know that a lot of our renters may be a first-time renter. Majority of them are probably at Skylar's property. We have a lot of first-time renters at the rest of our properties. And then we have people that have never lived and haven't lived in an apartment in a long time because they've been homeowners and they sold it. Now they're going back to apartment life. So a lot of things have changed over the years. So it's our job to make sure that we are patient, that we're happy to help, and that we're giving them a great resident customer experience. And like Skylar said, be ready to solve some problems and just make sure that we are open to it. All right, before I go, before we end this, does anybody else have maybe any other tips or tricks or report tips that can help create a better resident experience?
Okay, just side note, since we were talking about it, literally as we were talking about that, look what Miss Judy brought me. She brought me a little apple loaf. I don't know. The residents out here, I would say they make everything worth it. Some of them, of course, have some high expectations. It is Prosper. But every weekend, there's one resident who brings us breakfast, and then 3 or 4 other residents come every single Saturday, and we all eat a family brunch. And just developing a relationship with them and actually getting to know them. Sometimes I do feel like I'm their therapist, and that's okay. I'm here for them, So I feel really blessed to be out here I have a great team too, but the residents really, they make it worthwhile, and they treat us so good, most of them.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. And that was great time. And tell her thank you for sending that loaf during this training, because I'll pay her later for it. Okay. All right, you guys. Once again, lastly, I just want to say thank you to Kylie, Morgan, and Skylar for joining me on the call today. Your experience and feedback are very effective in how we learn, so thank you once more. I do want to end this training with a few points to consider when building rapport with prospects or residents. So just once again, just some quick reminders. Always remember, demonstrate how we are alike. Practice listening skills, verbal needs, and repeating the main points. Be empathetic, not sympathetic. Take note of the personal things: dogs, holidays, birthdays, babies. Use the resident's name. Above all, treat your prospect residents the way you'd like to be treated. Or, now that Kylan gave us a little bit something extra, you can use the platinum rule and treat them like the way you think they'd like to be treated. All right, this series will be soon uploaded to Learn W3. Thank you guys all for attending, and happy leasing. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Eric.